Hey, I'm Callie. Thanks so much for watching this video. The video that you're about to watch is based on the Bible, and we believe that it will be helpful to you as you seek answers to tough questions about Jesus and religion. We would love for you to text us if you need someone to talk to or if you want to have a deeper conversation about the questions you're having. Again, thanks for watching. We're praying for you, and we hope that this video will be an encouragement to you on your spiritual journey.
Hi, welcome to Graceland Church Online. I'm Larry. Today we're talking about, I think, a very important issue. An important issue that really relates to all of us because it has to do with relationships. What kind of relationships do you have that you're in with family, with friends, people around you, coworkers, all those kind of things? What we're talking about today is how you find and work through forgiveness in conflict. All of us have conflict, right? There are things that go on inside our families, inside our workplaces. Conflict is at different levels. Some conflict is major that we have to deal with. Some conflict we would see as minor, but inside that, we do have conflict. So we're going to talk for a little bit about the whole idea of how we find forgiveness inside that and how we give forgiveness inside that, because those are big issues and important things in our life. I think we start off by saying it's very important for us to be about avoiding and resolving conflict as quickly as possible. Don't allowing that conflict to escalate. Don't allow it to become bigger than it really is. You've heard this statement, or someone has said, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Well, what's the idea behind that? Well, the idea is that something small to start can compound into something much larger. A simple issue can become complex in conflict. So what we're trying to do is talk about how in the middle of that we are avoiding it by doing some certain things, and we'll talk about those certain things. And if we get inside that, how do we resolve the conflict in a way that's appropriate and that can be helpful? I think it starts off as probably you recognize the importance of being humble. Humility inside that is a very important piece. So when you think about forgiveness in the idea of conflict, we think about how we resolve that. We do that by being a person who is forgiving and receiving forgiveness from other people. So as we begin thinking about how we resolve it, humility on our part becomes pretty much the number one thing that we're having to deal with, the number one thing of who we are as we enter into this conflict resolution that we're working with. Conflict comes, as I said, in many different styles, many different ways. Just a simple conflict would be, you ask your wife or husband, hey, where do you want to go eat? And the response is, well, it doesn't matter to me. And then you name a place, hey, let's go to this restaurant. And the person says, well, I really wasn't feeling that. Well, okay, so let's try another one. Hey, how about let's go into this restaurant? Well, that's not where I wanted to go either. So the person who says, well, it doesn't really matter to me, obviously when you engage in the conversation, it does matter. And that is a simple but complexing kind of conflict that goes along. And our role to begin the process is, how do we take on humility inside that? Now, as we're walking through that, understand that when we're inside conflict and we're dealing with conflict, we have to know when to drop the conflict. So it's not becoming, as I said earlier, making a mountain out of a molehill. Sometimes we have a hard time dropping the conflict, dropping the issue, because it becomes very personal to us and we really don't want to. There is a story, and you've probably heard this, the whole idea of being able to forgive someone. And you look at someone, and as the story goes, as Jesus actually was talking about this, you look at a person and they have a speck in their eye, and you begin talking about that conflict, talking about that small thing, talking about that one thing they're doing. But he says in that conversation that even though you're looking at the person and you're seeing that speck in their eye, you're doing it with a log in your eye. There's a lot of humor in that illustration. There's a lot of kind of a focus of like, man, you can just see this log sticking out of a guy's head or out of his eye, but at the same time, he's trying to look at the small things inside another person. Jesus was getting to how we would view ourselves and how we review the things that are around us, how we look at those things that we see and another person. So let's just take a moment and talk about how we really walk through this. How do we come to this place of forgiveness? Now, one of the things about forgiveness is when a matter is before us, we try to settle that matter in a private way. We try to make the matter that's going on, the struggle that's going on, the conflict, keeping that in a small circle, not trying to broadcast that out in a big way. We really are focused on keeping that private matter between the parties we've offended or that have offended us, so that the conflict becomes not public spectators, not people watching and seeing what's going on, but us, right? Those who have this conflict. So keeping that circle pretty small inside that is very, very important. And even as we're walking through that, even in that keeping it small, our posture should be one of being gracious, being kind, all the things that come out of that. Now that's hard to do, right? That's hard to do sometimes when you're in the middle of conflict and all these things are going on. It's difficult to say, oh, I'm going to be gracious through this. I'm not going to take any revenge on this. That's another point of that, not taking revenge on someone, not even in the smallest way, not even thinking bad things to take revenge upon someone. It comes back to that whole idea that we are resolving this conflict, humility in our life, and it's being driven out of our grace that is in us. Grace that we're giving to the other person so that they might see and understand what we are talking about. You know, part of resolving conflict is not just being gracious, it's not just keeping it small, but a big part of resolving conflict in forgiveness is being able to listen to the other person. There are so many stories and illustrations about hearing things wrong and getting things wrong. I love it when we're around the kids and they want to play telephone, you know, when they whisper something in your ear and it goes to the next person and it goes to the next person and so forth around the table, and it comes back to the one that started it, right? You've whispered this phrase or these words, and by the time they come back, it's changed. Well, there's a lot of reasons that could happen, but one of the biggest reasons that it's hard to hear. Like when a little kid is whispering in your ear and you're trying to get all the words they're saying, it's hard to listen and know exactly what's being said. I think it's true for forgiveness. I think it's true as we resolve the issues in our lives. How do we really listen to what the other person is saying? Not just the words, their facial expressions, their gestures, their body language, all those things that are speaking to us. So we have this conflict, we have this issue, and we're trying to keep this thing small inside this and keep it within the circle of the struggle. But our role inside that is moving toward forgiveness, and it starts with listening to the other person. What are they really saying? What are we really hearing? And really, what are they hearing from us? Being able to speak into their lives. I think we always have to walk into that with an understanding that we're prepared to forgive that person. That is the posture that we're taking. Our posture is the forgiveness that we are bringing inside this conversation. Being ready for that is very important. I think as we understand forgiveness, it's caring so much about the other person that out of our lives that are humble, that are gracious, that are trying to resolve this issue is the important understanding that we are really coming at this with a desire to forgive or be forgiven. And we don't put up these defenses that so easily come up. And those defenses build walls, and they help the walls get stronger and wider, and it's harder to break through those walls unless we walk into that conversation saying, I am prepared to be the person who is forgiving. And that really does make a difference. So when you create the time, when you create the place, when you choose the gathering that you have, and you're choosing what you say very, very carefully, because your choice of words, what we say to another person, really does make an impact. Well, we might talk about words don't hurt us. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words, nah, they do. They can destroy us. So choosing your words, choosing my words carefully inside conflict resolution and forgiveness is so very important. And then I think to conclude, how do we be patient with people? How do we be patient with what that person is saying or what that person is doing, or even how we feel about it? How do we step back? How do we look at their lives and what's going on inside of all that's happening? And our role then is just to be patient and wait and sometimes talk through issues. Now, sometimes you have to take another person along with you so that they can call you back to being patient. They can call you back to being gracious. They can hear the conversation and mediate that. Sometimes that needs to happen. But really, our posture of forgiveness is where it starts. Being a people who's saying, I'm ready to walk in and resolve the issues by a person who forgives and a person who cares. And it has to happen on both sides, really. It's difficult if one side is the only one doing forgiving, but that's where it has to start. It has to do with my heart being ready to say, I'm prepared to be a person who is forgiving another person inside the conflict. Well, as we think about relationships, they're so very, very important to us. As we think about what relationships mean, I hope you'll look at other things that we have at Graceland Church Online. I hope that you would really look at Graceland Church to say, hey, how can I learn about how to build better relationships in my family, with friends, with coworkers? And I believe we can help be able to speak into your life about what it means for each of us to grow in our relationship with each other and our spiritual relationships with Christ. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks again for watching this video. We hope that God spoke to you today and that this video helped answer any questions that you may have had. Again, feel free to text us if you would like to talk more about what you heard or if there's any way that we might be able to help you. And you can also find more videos and more resources at gracelandchurch.online. And if you feel that you've been blessed by these videos, please consider donating so that we can continue sharing more content to more people. And remember to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more answers to tough questions. Thanks so much again for watching, and we hope that you'll join us again soon.